All right. Uh, Welcome everybody to our kickoff session for the first cohort of the AI engineer program. It is a pretty exciting kickoff for me since years. Many of you will know it. We are running the CPF program. We have been we have been having had a large number of kickoffs, I can say, because we are running 3 cohorts per year in this since many, many years. But this one is really, really special. So you see, I am A, excited, B, of course, a little bit nervous because it's brand new. So we are releasing like a new product into this world, and I think it is a pretty timely product. Hopefully you will see it after the session as myself. We have been working over the whole summer of developing this program, which has comprehensive resources with regard to the number one skill today. But more on every single detail of this a little bit later. Yeah, my name is Yves. I'm founder CEO of the Python Quants. And let's dive into the slide deck. And here you see the overview. I want to start with the AI frenzy, right? You cannot open a web page, a news page, right, without reading any new deal or any news about AI and the billions and billions that are getting invested out there. This is on the one hand, I would say pretty exciting. On the other hand, it represents also challenges for companies, for corporations, for individuals, right? So we come to that, and in which way the AI engineer might be an answer to at least part of the challenges that companies and people are faced with these days. I want to go a little bit deeper in point number 4 here with regard to who benefits really from what we have to offer with the AI engineer program. Then a deep dive into the resources and how we deliver the resources. It is for those of you who have been following along the CPF program, for example. I am pretty happy to welcome also a larger number of previous delegates of the CPF program. Pretty happy about that part as well, right? It is different to what we have been doing. I thought, new times, exciting times, new capabilities, and we should change our complete approach a little bit. Why the AI engineer? In the end, because there is quite a bit of opportunity out there to learn, to dive deep, to do things. But I think we have compiled a unique set of resources and have implemented an approach that really makes it worthwhile to go over a pretty short period of time through the most important skills and knowledge pieces that are relevant in this context. Not everybody following along today has already enrolled. For those of you who haven't, you will see a few links there as well and contact information. So here to section 1 about the AI frenzy, right? Investment, markets, infrastructure signal unprecedented AI momentum. So I have been starting with machine learning as applied to finance 10 years ago, roughly, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit shorter, 9.5, 10.5 years. I'm not really sure when it really started, but I can tell you one thing. I started writing my book AI in Finance a couple of years back, and it was published in 2020. So we have been dealing with AI, deep learning, and all these elements for many, many years in the context of finance. But of course, the eureka moment with the release of ChatGPT has changed the whole story here, right? So when you have a look here at the capital expenditures for AI, this is searching at an unprecedented pace here, right? So not even like during the COVID crisis, where many companies, technology companies, invested in their offerings, let's say with regard to web conferences here and there, right? So here you see a pretty steep increase in terms of investment. Of course, we have companies like Meta here, originally primarily social media, right? But Amazon, for example, as the leader in cloud services, Microsoft with Azure and the partnership with OpenAI, right? So everybody is spending more and more and more. And you find, if you're interested, here links to the sources here and to the articles, Wall Street Journal here in this particular case, right? Big tech capex, right? It's surging all over the place. And these are just four examples of the many. Think of Oracle and so many others, right? um, when you have a look at where all this is coming from, right? We are so used to sitting in front of our desktops, watching the screens, the browser, and asking ChatGPT. But of course, there is a ton and a ton of hardware behind all of that around the world. So this is currently really the number one investment theme around there with regard to real estate, with regard to energy, where nuclear energy suddenly becomes en vogue again. So AI spending is simply accelerating, right? So here you see where at least parts of the billions and billions are flowing into the server farms, right? Um, this is reflected currently, we can say, yeah, to the luck and the benefit of the companies who are investing that much, right? Here you see the percentage values of each single stock here relative to the overall S&P 500. I mean, that's really impressive. I mean, Nvidia has reached 8.5% of the 500 largest US companies. And we all know why, right? Because everyone wants to have the GPUs that are so important for AI these days. But all the others are benefiting as well. Of course, here we see ups and downs. It's not like a monotonically increasing line for everyone involved. But overall, on average, that's for sure impressive. And when I said before, roughly 10 years ago, I started with simple machine learning, right? Not right, sophisticated deep learning applied to finance. You see here, this is where it all slowly took off. And now we have this accelerated growth here for basically every major player around here. No wonder that many people speak about bubbles. Is this now an AI bubble? Yeah, is it similar to the dot-com bubble? People start comparing it to the market crash in the 20s, right? One thing is clear: not everybody will win financially. Not the investors, not every single company, not every startup will survive. But it is also clear that AI and AI engineering are here to stay. There is no doubt about that part. That's similar to the internet and the dot-com bubble, right? There was no doubt ever that the internet will go away, right? Even when pets.com busted back in the days, that's not here the major question, I would say, right? So um, because it was so in the news, and Nvidia, right? Why is it now close to, or it has reached 8.5 percent of the overall, the broad stock market index, S&P 500? Here you see it's not, again, a monotonic rise. There are ups and downs. There's quite a bit of volatility for some investors to their benefit, right? When they say, well, I was able to yeah, buy a few more at a more attractive average stock price, right? But overall, 5 trillion, I mean, that's a big number, I would say. I just checked before. Let me have a look here at the stock price market cap. Yeah, we are close to 5 billion. So 4,000. Here, here you see it, right? 4,920 billion. So we can say it's roughly, it is. It is something like 5 trillion. And I'm pretty sure, even if even if there is a pushback, it will soon simply go over it. And who knows? I've heard people speaking of 10 trillion in the near future because Nvidia has become the key asset, the key provider in this AI frenzy area, right? not everybody wins in this context, right? So companies push efficiency and junior job seekers face headwinds. So I'm following this so closely since the very beginning because, yeah, of course, maybe what required a team of developers or junior analysts in the past now can be achieved, can be done by a single person, an associate with quite a bit of experience leveraging AI, be it in the browser or using it on the command line, implementing agents and so forth, right? You can read it all over the place. But now we are getting into the next phase. And since my background of many of you following along now is in finance, right? What I read here, this was for me, honestly, next level, right? Next level, saying that OpenAI here has more than 100x investment bankers. I don't know from which levels here, really, right? But that doesn't really matter, I would say, helping train its artificial intelligence on how to build financial models as it looks to replace the hours of grunt work performed by junior bankers across the industry. Right, the group, which includes, we can imagine, like JP Morgan Chase, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, and so forth, right, is part of a secretive project inside a startup, right? Mercury, it's called. Participants are paid $150 per hour. And what is happening here, if you think it through, right? These people, these, freelancers, we can now say they're getting paid by the hour. They transfer their knowledge to the AI and make themselves redundant. Of course, this was to be foreseen, but still, this now affects a whole industry and in particular a whole level of jobs, entry-level jobs in a whole industry, right? So this is now happening, that complete job profiles and levels and hierarchy, right, seniority will actively getting made redundant by such efforts. And this is really something where, again, for me, I don't know about the new situation in other areas really, because obviously I follow primarily financial news and economic news, etc. Right, which is really a new level. And this is the same holds true for coding, for example, as well. So when we then have a look at surveys, right? So headline findings here: 8 in 10 companies report plans to lay off recent college graduates, right? Because there are the open AIs in the world that make this possible, right? The drivers are automation of entry-level tasks, efficiency mandates, and hiring freezes where roles are made redundant. So the impact, obviously, fewer junior seats and the higher bar for applied AI fluency with portfolio evidence. Everybody can use ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever your favorite is, Grok in the browser, right? But because everybody can do this, this is not really a major advantage anymore, if at all, right? Maybe you're a little bit better and like, prompting and here and there, but that's not the point anymore, right? The implication now, so candidates who can design, evaluate, and operate AI features are prioritized. So we are on the next level, right? It's not like, when you recall it, and I back then thought already this is not like the thing, right? Where they said, well, there are like job offerings for prompt engineers that are offering 250,000 US dollars per year, right? Prompt engineering is not the problem anymore. Simply ask one LLM to write a proper prompt for the other LLM, right? So even this is kind of like automated away. Of course, there are a couple of tricks left and right, but that's not a big deal anymore. So you need to know more than just writing a number of nice prompts and following a couple of rules. And when you now have a look beyond the anecdotal evidence, and this is one of the first, and it was published in October, and there was an updated version at the end of October, so just like a few days ago, where you see, and let me maybe from now on use my glasses. I have an easier time then to see the smaller letters here, right? Where there is this chart on the left-hand side, right? Where you see the junior employees have been hit pretty much, heavily by the AI frenzy, where you see here that since the release. That's the release after where GPT 3.5, where OpenAI was released, right? So that here the level of employment for junior employees has been on the fall ever since, right? It started a little bit before, and you see here the first drop. This is a pretty interesting dip as well. So this is here during the COVID crisis, right, where many companies simply stopped hiring people, no interviews took place, etc. And this is now obviously a continuing trend. The COVID crisis was just temporary. Here we see it continuing. On the other side, right, you see that senior employees, this is what is called here the seniority gap up here, right? Seniority gap. Senior employees are on the rise with regard to their employment level. So well above 100%, where 100% is the level at the release of GPT 3.5 JetGPT. This was in November 2022. So that's what is called the gap. We could do an overlay and we would see that it goes absolutely in different directions. If you like, this is publicly available on SSRN. Here is the link to it. Many interesting facts and a lot of data and charts that you find in that paper. So this is beyond the single anecdotes that you can read in the general news or financial press, right? Where there is a large scale analysis here that was implemented, right? And now on the other side, right, here again, anecdotal, but this is of course eye-popping, right? That AI talent, AI engineering talent is paid on a level comparable to the stars. Here in this article, they use the stars from the NBA basketball. So I have a relationship to it as well. So I've been playing when I was younger for 13 years basketball as well. My son, thankfully, plays also a basketball. But of course, we have never reached the height of Steph Curry or LeBron James. But when you just read the first sentence here, so Mr. Zuckerberg personally met with Mr. Detke, then Meta returned with a revised offer of around 250 million over 4 years, with potentially up to 100 million of that to be paid in the first year. So that's also part of the frenzy, right? Junior people, graduates, certain disciplines like computer science, finance, etc., they're having a hard time. And on the other hand, we have this highly sought after talent, skill in the form of AI engineering, where you see so many job offers, but not so many people, young people, or also older ones, right, that can fill this skill gap in the companies, right? So as a little bit of a summary, right? So AI reshapes work, no doubt about that, and creates pressure to build and ship AI systems agents. So when we have a little bit of a summary from everything that we have seen before, so automation of entry-level tasks, chatbots, code-pilots, data co-pilots, right? Compress junior roles, right? Things like in the past, go to the library, make some copies, or write a summary report, or take notes of a meeting. So I was myself working when I was younger as a management consultant. All these typical elements, right, they are now taken over by AI. And recently, and this was pretty interesting, um, uh, McKinsey, as I would say, best known and well renowned, at least it used to be, consulting company, they have been awarded like the super hyper platinum award by OpenAI because they have been using and paying for 1 trillion tokens, right? So they are one of the biggest customers, and you can imagine, right, for consultants or bankers to this end, right? All these new technologies are, of course, pretty use and helpful, right? Demand shift. So teams now need people who can design, build, evaluate, and operate AI systems, right? People don't need others who can work with a chatbot, right? To be honest, everybody can work with a chatbot. Yeah, not to be disrespectful with regard to my wife, She's a professional dressage horse rider, so completely different field. But she uses Perplexity via voicemail and other stuff like everything else in the past. Like we Google, right? This has become commonplace, right? And our kids for sure as well, right? So hiring reality. So organizations compete for applied AI talent. We have seen compensation reflects that, but there is really a scarcity with regard to the skill itself and to talent. So a coherent production focused path here for us beats the option alternative of scattered tutorials. And this was what I was thinking about and working on during the summer and autumn, right, to come up with the AI engineer to address this scarcity of talent and of skill in the market. Because when we are honest, AI engineering is something that encompasses a large number of other traditional disciplines, right? So me, myself, I've been making a living for many, many years right now by using Python with all the data science, plotting capabilities, and machine learning, deep learning capabilities applied to finance. Mostly on, I would say, on the analytical, interactive development side, partly also deployment side with regard to algorithmic trading, right? But there are now requirements that are well beyond what usual analysts, when they are working with Python and finance, for example, or in other disciplines, right, doing a little bit of data analysis here and there, what this all requires. This requires proper software engineering, machine learning engineering, right, data engineering, DevOps, security and compliance, right, product and UX. So there is a ton of things from the established domains and fields that is relevant to AI engineering. On the other side, we have brand new or accelerated skills and fields that play an important role, right? Prompting, system prompt design, and I'm not here, what is meant with this bullet point is not like typing a small prompt, but having appropriate prompting structures for agents for them to work not for 5 seconds, but maybe for 5 hours on end. This requires a little bit of a different approach than retrieval and RAG, retrieval augmented generation, right? Indexing, chunking, working with vector databases, etc., LLM ops and evaluation, right? Agents and tool use, planning and guardrails. This is here in the AI engineer. This is in the fourth part, right? Formally week 4, but many will probably study a little bit longer, right? But it's the fourth part, the fourth step, if you like, agents and automation. And this requires, of course, things when you have a look at the past, right? I was growing up and was listening to lectures at university where ERMs, enterprise resource management systems, were like the big deal, like our German SAP coming out with R3 after R2, right? But this were just like people typing stuff, invoices, data into a system and then putting it into a database. Here we have agents, they go on their own and do stuff for hours on end, right? You need guardrails and here observability, documented traces, logs, etc., in order to keep everything under control, right? And then, of course, uh, if you have a rogue agent, for example, right, you might easily run into cost issues as well, right, in terms of yeah, tokens and token generation and more, right, and nobody sees it. So everything that you automate in this regard should be yeah, under proper control and running within guardrails. And this all together, of course, makes it clear that this skill today is pretty scarce, right? There are not too many who have in the last 10 years learned about everything here. So we need to, I would say, address and attack the problem a little bit differently, right? Therefore, the AI engineer, and again, for the many, many hours that I walked my dogs through the forest, this is what I was thinking about over and over again. And I came up with our AI engineer, where we have the yeah, the tagline from zero to production. We have integrated tracks and yeah, certain types of outputs and a certain approach that move participants of the program from basics to deployment. So we have a dual track pathway, and the dual track pathway basically reflects what we see here, right? There is not even on this chart, you don't even see like really deep learning details, for example, right? The mastery of PyTorch as one of the core packages in this ecosystem is not even displayed here, right? So mastering NumPy, Python, Pandas, all these elements also not displayed. This is more or less the higher level view on that. But of course, here we have in the program addressed everything. So dual track pathway at the core, we will address like machine learning, LLMs, and agents, right? And then we have the engineering track, where it's about software, ML, and AI engineering itself. So with the program, there comes 7 books, coherently, consistently designed, right? They play all together. You know, myself, I've published a number of books with O'Reilly and Wiley in the past, but these 7 books are not the 7 books that I've published. These are books specifically authored here for the program, right? So they come with Colab notebooks, companion codes, and I'm planning to implement continuous updates. So I have implemented for the content and the whole approach of the AI engineer something like continuous development and integration, right? So we have established here processes that whenever there are updates, etc., everything is more or less automatically reflected. Maybe not immediately. This is not the case for software engineering and development, right? But more or less just in time delivery. The whole program is about portfolio driven learning, right? So there will be exercises, test projects, capstones, right? Here, interview ready, because our imagination is that you want to leverage what you learn. You want to leverage to maybe land a better job, to maybe fall up the career ladder, as we say in Germany, right? To rise to the next level given your new skills, right? And of course, production focus. Because again, in the browser, everybody can type a prompt and get some code, whatever. No, it's about testing, packaging, continuous integration, development, about containers, about evaluation, observability, traceability, and all the elements that we have seen before. And this is what the program is all about. And I must say so, and I don't say this with like a regret or whatnot. This was never really the approach of the CPF program, right? The production side, we were never like training, I would say, the system engineers in hedge funds or banks, but rather those who are at the front, who are at the market side, right? On the business side, as they say, right? The analysts, the portfolio managers, the algo traders, etc., right? And they're usually CI, CD, containers, etc. It's not like the biggest deal in the world. But here now, of course, that's a completely different game. So the outcomes is ship end-to-end AI features, explain design choices. So for me, there are like 2 major expressions about processes and practices, right? Processes say what do you do in certain situations and contexts, and the practices means that it explains how do you do every single step in a standardized, well-established, reproducible, explainable way. So processes and practices, right? Build a portfolio and speak to reliability, latency, and cost. And and this was like after the framework was there and the content, I was then thinking equally hard and working equally hard, basically all day and night long. I haven't been working, and this is, how shall I say, it was for me a big surprise that hard over the last couple of years, I must say, as compared to the previous weeks and months, right? Developing the whole program here. So to learn fast, this was kind of, I thought, how can we make it better and a most efficient way to bring all these topics together in a digestible, learnable manner, right? So to learn fast with coherent materials instead of piecemeal tutorials, right? You can go on YouTube and you can spend, I would say, with everything that's coming out in the future, the rest of your life, I could spend the rest of my life, and even my son, who is 19, he's studying data science and AI. bachelor currently, right? He could spend the rest of his life watching YouTube videos, but that's for sure not a way to go about something as complex as we see it here, right? It's the same as if you would say, well, I haven't studied math, but I want to achieve a bachelor's or master's level in math. Therefore, I now go and watch one YouTube video after the other. Usually, I would say that's not the right way to go about it. Same here. So here we have a ton of resources, and don't be afraid. You don't need to read every single word and do every single exercise, but we offer a ton of things so that we can cater to every need, to every situation, and every personal idea and requirement, right? So 1,250 pages, 300 Python scripts, 100 plus notebooks, thousands of lines of code. We have 8 modules. You can do it 4 or 8 weeks. To be honest, you can also do it in 12 weeks, right? Some have asked me already up front, can I do it self-paced? Yeah, basically everything is possible, but I will here for the inaugural cohort, I will have a 4-week plan with live sessions, etc. And if you say, well, I do it over 8 weeks, that's not a big deal, right? The end here should be a GitHub portfolio where you can showcase what you have been working on. And our delivery, that's now our point of view vis-a-vis those who follow along, those who participate. Colab-ready notebooks you can expect, pinned environments for local execution. I will show you the resource Launchpad, scheduling and a practice plan, and there's also a multiple choice question lab, which addresses basically every single chapter of every book that you have access to, right? We have here the 2 coordinated tracks, and you see here 4 bullet points, and this is like the 4-week structure. But you see here in the overview, there are no weeks or whatnot, right? So time is a little bit like a physics, separate dimension, right? You can say, well, I do Python and math for ML and DL 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, right? This depends on whether you have the time to do it full time, like a bootcamp style, or whether you're working full time, or yeah, of course, from my many years training many professionals in the thousands out there, I know every situation is different, but we always tried and still try to cater to every special, specific, personal situation. So we have Python and math for MLDL. This is like a programming based review and walk through important topics that are simply required in the context of deep learning, in the context of LLMs and AI agents and automation. So here, vectorization, linear algebra, calculus, and optimization, but primarily explained based on Python code and many visualizations. Then we have the deep learning basics with PyTorch. So those of you who have joined us from the CPF, this was my quote unquote test class for the CPF, where I think we got pretty good feedback, different approach, a little bit more to learn and to digest than usual, but with a different approach towards the materials and towards what we expect the participants to do there. Then we will build an LLM from scratch, right? So we will attack tokenization, attention, training, sampling, right? And for those of you who fancy later on, if you spend maybe a couple of euros on DigitalOcean, let's say, and I'm planning to showcase that as well, then you can train even a little bit of a larger LLM on a larger GPU in the cloud, for example, because there is no consumer grade GPU available, not even for the many thousands of euros or dollars, right? That has, let's say, 80 gigs of GPU RAM, right? AI agents and automations, that's the 4th level here. Then we have the engineering track where we start with the foundation, primer, so Python environments, a little bit of a math refresh. Then we have software, ML and AI engineering. This is all about the testing, packaging, CI, CD, containers, environments, etc., pp. Then data, experiments, evaluation, serving, observability, governance. That's like everything around it, everything beyond the core functionality. Of course, this has references to the core part as well. but this is a little bit, if you say, yeah, on a higher level, making sure that everything works out well in the end, hopefully, right? So there are the books. I can show you them later on as well. There's also a link to the book part here on the page. Let me see whether it all works, right? Here are the books, and there are samples for every single book. So those of you who have signed up, you have access, of course, to the complete books. For everybody else, can check out the samples and what the single books are about. You will find math, you will find code, you will find text, you will find visualizations, and more and more and more, right? You can imagine 1200 plus pages, that's quite a bit. So here, the same for deep learning basics, right? You see also here the sample as the first chapter, how this book is organized, and so forth and so forth. So that's publicly available on our DI Engineer website, right? The 4 core books, and then we have the Python primer plus mathematics for ML and DL. And to be honest, many, I can imagine already people are so much math. Yeah, we are providing here basically everything with regard to everything, right? We try to be as self-contained as possible, but of course you don't need to study math now for 6 months first before you get to some practical programming, right? So we offer it, you can reference it, there are cross references, etc. But no need again to be like, oh my goodness, 170 pages math. There is a summary and the visual guide together, 37 pages or whatnot. This is what you can reference, right? Not like the larger book, 120 pages or whatnot. Here is the overview, right? Schematic overview. The tracks, you have the core track, you have the engineering track here, the curriculum, what we want to achieve, Python plus math. It's simply the absolute basic. And for those of you who might have read my book, Financial Theory with Python, is it behind me? Yeah, it's the one over my head here. I could have a look here as well. Financial Theory, that was basically the same idea a couple of years back when I was starting to write that book, right? To have math and Python included, plus the financial side, right? Python plus math gives finance, illustrates finance, reinforces finance. Here is the same with regard to machine and deep learning. Then that's, to be honest here, my fault. DL basics comes first, then LLM from scratch, because everything that is taught here is leveraged in this part. So I should have put it the other way around, because there is a natural sequence, obviously, right? Then the practice. This is the core part. You don't need to read all the pages and all the do everything, execute every single line of code or whatnot. But what you should do is here, you should do exercise, you should do test projects, the capstones. There's one capstone in week 1, and you should target a public portfolio, right? In the CPF program, we have had this already with a publicly hosted final project, a Colab executable, and here we go quite a bit faster. There will not be a final project in that sense. You will have weekly capstones, and these are the ones that you should put, excuse me, into your own portfolio. Of course, we have the resources, the books, GitHub, Colab, MCQ Lab. These are reinforcing resources that play together, obviously, and the outcomes. You should be able to ship end-to-end features, processes, and practices. Here you see what I was pointing out before, based on reliability, low latency, and cost management in this regard, right? So that's the one-page overview of the AI engineer. So who benefits now? Yeah, I would say quite a few people, right? And I can tell you, I've benefited from all of this tremendously, to be honest, right? I wouldn't say, and here I'm realistic, when you master everything that we offer here, when I master everything that we offer here, we are still not able to rebuild tomorrow OpenAI or Anthropic or whatever, right? So we know what this all entails, but we can work with the technologies and we can apply it on a professional, a larger scale level, right? You won't get as a single person a hyperscaler from now to 4 weeks later. That's not the case, but skill wise, everything benefits, right? And here, the first group that I see, it's students and academics, right? So academic learners gain a bridge from theory to deployable, evaluated projects. And I would think that not at every university, not in every single computer science department, this is already practice. This takes, from my own experience over decades, I can say, it takes years and years on end until curricula are updated in this regard, right? Not really coursework here, just like writing something or doing a little bit. No, it's about deployable projects, right? For a student, I think it's a wonderful opportunity to build a portfolio and to provide here a hiring signal to potential employers, right? Academics that might want to leverage all of this in their research. Same story, I would say. The better you are at the techniques that we teach here, yeah, the higher the benefits in your work. And why now? Yeah, AI fluency is simply the new baseline across disciplines. Credibly shipping matters. And it's not only, I'm not talking about here academics in the field of AI, for sure not, right? It's academics and students in every field, because programming is already a given, right? Python for data science, etc., is what everybody is expected to know these days. But this is now the next level. And the earlier to get on the next level, for sure, the better. Working professionals, similar story, right? Teams need simply reliable AI these days. It's beyond using just a chat application in the browser. It's beyond doing first steps on the command line interface. It's a little bit more, right? So upskilling doesn't hurt, for sure not, right? Here applied AI with guardrails, because this is something, security guardrails, compliance, reliability, end-to-end shipment within companies. These are simply different requirements. Like it is a different requirement when you are at university and you write your Python script, which supports your bachelor's thesis, is one thing. All right, when you are in a tech company or in another corporation, you're responsible coming up with a software product, right, which is to be used internally. The requirements are different, right? So here, patterns that you can learn, that you can explain, and that you can apply in a reliably reproducible fashion, right? So for corporations, of course, shared standards for teams, testing, packaging. This is already the standard for software engineering, right? But now we have software engineering plus ML engineering plus AI engineering, where we need to make sure that these jailbreaks of AIs right, won't happen, that we are able to contain and manage and keep in check, let's say, autonomous agents in a proper compliant way. So production AI is now moving from single pilots, right, to capabilities like, let's say, databases in the past, data science since a while, or machine learning on the same level, right? So now to the resources themselves, I have shown you already a little bit. Here, the emphasis on living materials, right? That's the first draft. I hope we get a ton of feedback, but you will have really also a ton to go through, to work with, and to hone your skills. We have reproducible repos, right? And I've mentioned a couple of times, to see here, I haven't had this usually on the first level, but since I'm now working that intensively with Colab, also against the background of having available via a click a pretty performant and powerful CUDA devices, right? In the form, even for the free tires, in the form of T4s and so forth, right? So we have seen this already, like a ton of stuff as background material, as reference material. This is getting updated, right? And aligned here and there. We have rich visuals and examples. Then we have the repos plus Colab executability. So this was one of my personal requirements when I started. I said, well, this should be, there are limits here and there. Not everything in the world is, even when you think about it and put it as a requirement to 100% implementable. But I would say we are well above 90% in this regard, right? Of course, you are supposed to come up with local environments and here and there, right? But overall, the notebooks, for example, the 100+ notebooks, they should be executable. Pinned environments, reproducible exercises, right? Then there's a practice plan and schedule for week 8 weeks. I was asked already about self-paced learning. Yeah, you can take the plan and simply stretch it as you see fit. I said before, when there were just bullet points, time is a separate dimension. Like we have in physics, time as a separate dimension, right? It's not here the case that they say, well, after week 1, I wasn't finished with the content for week 1. I haven't even touched the capstone. Now I need to move on to week 2. No, if you are a professional working, I don't know, 50 hours per week, have family, probably this is too demanding. So here, see time as an independent dimension of the content dimensions that we have here. MCQ Lab, this is just time quizzes, reinforcing core and engineering content. So now the first opportunity here to get to a non-public area. Here the launch pad, as we've called it, that's the core starting point, right? When I open it here, and you need to be logged in with your credentials to be able to access this. So for those of you who follow along but haven't joined us yet, you will hopefully do, but even if you don't, you need here now the access to the launchpad, right? And I have here the PDFs in the meantime, password protected. You can use the your login username to open them. So for example, here you find the Kickoff slide deck. This is also publicly available, but it's put in here as well. Then we have the core resource deck here, core track resources. You see the Python and math for machine learning and deep learning. When I click on it, this opens now the whole book. I showed you before the sample, which is publicly available, and here you see now the whole book. And you see there's just 2 levels of a table of contents, but every single chapter, let's go to maybe autodiff here, right, has of course a number of sections, subsections, right, lots of code. No need to type the code, to copy the code. Everything is available in the repo, right? A ton of visualizations here, explanations, examples, right? So this is just now chapter 21 here, autodiff, backpropagation, and what PyTorch is helping us with when we do deep learning, right? And then embeddings and attention as linear algebra. You see, this is already for those of you who have a little bit of a background here, or maybe a lot of background, I don't know. Embeddings and attention is what we need. Attention is all you need, and this is what we need for our LLM project that we will implement thereafter. So this lays the foundations in the form of PyTorch and all the other techniques that we need for the LLM development, right? But this has its own book. So that's just one element here. Maybe let me go here to the resource. There is the Python and math GitHub repository, right? When I click on that, you see here a little bit of explanation. Here I was pointing this out before. You can, if you like, also install based on the requirements text file here, all the packages if you are more on the side of wanting to execute everything locally. But coming now to one of the major elements, let's say you get started this week with Python and math. So here PM code, Python and math code, and say here, have a look at the oh, this is again here wrongly cached. So I need to, maybe it's just for me, but I had this issue before with all these notebooks. This is not that I have put here half a logo in the notebook. Yeah, I knew it and I learned it again that GitHub is, as they call it, aggressively caching embedded image files. So this is cached to I don't know, 40% and not to 100%. So I would need to go and actually delete in the cache this file. But this has nothing to do with what we do here. This is a GitHub issue, but trust me, this is a proper logo which is embedded, and I can show you that in a second. So here, this would be related to chapter 1. Why is this all about math with code and code with math? That's the topic of chapter 1 in the PM book, as it's usually called, right? There are a couple of visualizations and a few text passages, and this is now the magic button here. This is the Colab extension for Google Chrome. And when I'm here on GitHub on a Jupyter Notebook page, I simply click on it and it opens, and you see, like magic, our logo for the AI engineer now appears in full. Again, the other half, 40% logo is a GitHub issue. Wrong caching, aggressively wrong caching. So that's now, this is a static version. This is just HTML. So we can maybe copy something here, right? But we cannot execute anything on GitHub directly. But with this single click on the extension, we are now in an execution environment, right? And I can now execute it for every external notebook. You are getting prompted here whether you want to really run it. And the imports here, the setup takes a few seconds generally. And then without going into what this is all about, you can now execute here, and you see the output, right? Here generating a visualization, right? And so you have the book chapter where you see code, where you see visualizations. Then you have the repo. There is a notebook which accompanies the chapter, and you can go to the GitHub repo and with a single click, if you use Chrome and install, since Colab is from Google, right? Chrome is from Google. You have this nice extension here that you can use to open the notebook directly, right? You can also here, therefore you are basically independent. You cannot do everything, but you can also, when you go here on the terminal side and you say, well, I want to work with the code as well. So git clone, you can also clone the whole repo, right? PM code, right? And it clones the whole repo. When I go in PM code now, I have everything from the repo available. So for example, cat requirements, you can have a look. There is a pretty short requirements file, right? I can then go to code, for example, chapters, going to chapters, right? What do we have? Now we have here certain code snippets. What is not working here is when I, for example, have a Python script which generates a pop-out window with a graphic, right? With matplotlib. This does not work, but I can execute, for example, here, chapter Y math with code, and you see here the output from, I think, the first two, right? This is the output from that cell. That's the output from that cell. And you can also, for those of you who are used to work on the shell, I can use Vim here, for example, and have a look at that file and maybe work with that file here as well, right? So basically no need to install anything. anything, yeah, locally. But of course, if you want to go the production route, you need to do it. So I have become over the last couple of months since starting this project with my clear requirements, have become a big fan here. And over here, right, you can also change the runtime type, right? And here you see T4 GPU. So when you work with PyTorch, deep learning implementations, or the LLM stuff that we are going to attack, you can, even with the free tier here on Colab, you can use GPU. And all the code that we offer checks where it is executed and whether a CUDA device is available. So this is all implemented so that there should be no issue. So that was about the code side, the book side, the repo side. And with regard to the resources, there's also, for example, for our next core session in the program, here you see this is protected. There is a slide deck, and this slide deck, when I jump down, has 153 slides. And this is the overview of the Python and mathematics book here in slide form, right? So let me increase this a little bit. You see here, every single part is addressed, and the slide deck is for our live sessions to provide the overview and orientation, but also you can see it as a summary, as an overview, as a gist of what the book is about and what you find in the book here in the form of a key visualization. So usually we have a 3-step here, right? Key topics of chapter 2, key concept mathematically, sorry, it's a 4-step. Those who can count in machine learning and AI engineering are clearly having an advantage, right? A 4-step. We have the code, third, and then we have a key visual. So this is not complete, the slide deck, with regard to every single book, but it gives you like a high-level overview, and then you can dive deeper into every single aspect in the book, right? So that's what we have here. The same holds true for here the resources, for example, the primer for Python, for example, and you see this is also roughly self-contained. So what is Python, everything about, how does it all work? Python environments, then data types, control flow, functions and modules, object-oriented basics, idiomatic Python, NumPy essentials, matplotlib, pandas, scikit-learn, engineering tools, word control, software craftsmanship, and from primer to practice, connecting the dots. And you see this is about 100 pages. So Python, everything I thought you would need before or during your endeavors here in the AI engineer is in there. So this has text, obviously, many call-outs, as they are called here in LaTeX, a ton of Python code, obviously is a Python primer, and more and more. So you find really many. And what I'm actually proud about is everything is coherent here for you prepared. And there is kind of, like I said it already, the math, the practitioner summary. This has 20 pages, right? So it's a run through. It's not a walkthrough, it's a run through the most important topics for everything that's getting covered, like convex sets. Convex sets are so important for optimization, right? Or gradient descent, or stochastic non-convex optimization, like really high level references. Again, we are not speaking here about a Bachelor of Science in mathematics, right? These are references if you really want to dive deeper and want to see, for example, what is the core result which underlies a certain algorithm that is used, right? Then there is the quiz lab, right? And we have practice plan. So the quiz lab, maybe, let me see. Here you can start a quiz. It's not yet complete, but there are quizzes for the Python primer. the mathematics primer, deep learning basics, practical math, right? And then you can choose here, when I've chosen, let's say, the Python primer, I can choose one chapter, idiomatic Python, and then I can number of questions, and here context managers can be nested with commas. No, see, it's wrong, right? So F string, I'm just clicking here, and just to show you, no matter where I click, either it's green or it is, I don't even read it anymore, right? So flake, that's right, flake 8 without reading it, I knew what it was about, right? And so you can go through it, yes and no questions, multiple choice questions, and there is a timer. So you have hopefully a fun time here with going through the different questions, and in the end you get your results and also hints to the correct answer. Then we have the schedule here, right? The 4-week module alignment. Ramp up is, if at all, behind us. Here, week 1, there are the links to all resources, what you find also on the Launchpad, here for your convenience, repeated, right? Also here for the engineering track. There is the capstone project. And I just want to show you here, the capstone project for week 1 is a Colab-ready Jupyter notebook hosted on GitHub, implementing the example and methods from GD optimization. So when I open this, this is about gradient-based optimization, because this is such an important topic for everything else in the AI engineer, that I thought this makes for a wonderful capstone project. And this is I would say a pretty detailed, total of 13 pages, let's say core, maybe 9 pages, where gradient and stochastic gradient descent are explained. And here I prefer, you might notice, I prefer a proper mathematical style. This sometimes looks daunting and intimidating, right? But when you have a look at this, this is a simple mathematical function. It's a one-dimensional simple mathematical function, which looks around 0 like this. So I have constructed this function here to have a kink, a non-differential local minimum, and here a differential a global minimum, right? To really have the core cases, problem areas of gradient and stochastic gradient descent. Again, this all looks like heavy math, but this is not really heavy math if you have a look through it, right? So this is also one of the skills that you should learn, is even if something looks as intimidating like this, to pick out the key elements of what this is all about and to implement it in proper code. Here you see the visualization of the first derivative, right? Where you have the kink, so the left and right hand side derivative gradients are not the same, therefore it's non-differentiable. This is what defines a kink, but nevertheless we can apply the methods, and this is really based on this simple, I would say, intuitive example. It explains what gradient and stochastic gradient descent is all about, and the capstone is to implement this. And for those of you who have already quite a bit of background in Python, this shouldn't be that much of a deal. So this is here one of the resources for the capstone, and now probably coming to one of the most important files at all. This is here the coaching PDF. So when you say, Yves has been telling me a ton of things in the kickoff and in the other sessions, right? But I'm almost lost in week 1. I hope this won't be the case, but if that might be the case, here is your study playbook and capstone brief. So this is one paper, one document, which is only about the stuff for week 1, right? The AI engineer program, week 1, builds practical momentum, right? When I zoom in a little bit, a clean Python setup, array thinking with NumPy, clear plots, and a compact math refresher for optimization. You will work from these resources, read small, run everything, and save tiny artifacts you can use. I hope that this text now is not as intimidating, maybe, hopefully not, like the math paper about gradient and stochastic gradient descent, right? So this helps you here focusing, to see the light at the end of the tunnel, to see the red line, to see the big picture. Right here, see purpose and scope, core resources, what you will learn, how to study, focus first, your priorities, key concepts, a very concise recap, review questions, practice a checklist, tiny study loop, right? Daily cadence, right? Also what you can do on which day, capstone project. Here, purpose and scope, summary, your core resources. And there are links here towards the end, but you have seen the launchpad. You should be able to find it. What you will learn, Python essentials, so about environments, etc. Not that big a deal. If you have worked with NumPy, should be all familiar, right? Plotting, standard matplotlib, linear algebra recap, important. We cannot get around linear algebra, right? Tensors. This is yeah, the part, or linear algebra is the part of mathematics that helps us dealing with tensors, and tensors are at the core of everything, right? Calculus for optimization, gradients, you have seen it, right? Here, how to study if you plan to do it more or less full-time, right? Here's just a suggestion. Everybody learns different, right? I cannot know how you prefer to learn, but this is a rough guide which you might want to follow if you have the time, or if you are time constrained, let's say 60 or 90 minutes per day in the morning before your work, or in the evening. I'm more a morning person. I would rather study from 5 to 6 a.m. than from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. I have usually a low from 5 to 6 p.m., but I was up this morning and was walking with one of my dogs. The other ones, they sleep usually at that time at, I don't know what it was, 5 a.m. indeed. I was already out of the house, right? So here the focus. So if you have to really prioritize, have a look at this list here, right? Key concepts, Python, data types, project layout, NumPy, plotting, how does it all work, or how does it look like when you get started with, linear algebra, right, calculus, a few review questions. This doesn't replace like the exercises, the practice checklist. If you say, well, I don't have time for the larger test projects, but here you see stuff that you can do maybe a bit faster. Your loop here, right? Reading, running code, noting some insight or question, repeat a small step and go through loops, right? Don't forget to execute code, to write code, to visualize stuff, right? Not just reading through the book. The book is second place, I would say. This is the reference when you say, well, this is not going in my head completely, so I reference then the book, right? Rather do some exercises, daily cadence, and here explanation for the capstone project. And once again here, links that you can use to open the single elements, and just like where you can reach us here in this context. So this, once again, might be one of the most important documents beyond all of the others that you have access to, right? And that you should consult, right? So that's the schedule in the practice plan. You see that as well. So we have basically here the ramp up period. This was just an offer for those of you who wanted to start early, right? Then we have here the week one resources again. That's the coaching guide. Once again, the GD optimization handout. So you have here big cards instead of just small links. So no way around it. Then the week plan, the reading, exercises, test project, capstone for both the core and engineering tracks. If you are not able to go through everything, rather focus here on the core track and do later the engineering part. Because what is all this engineering is about when there is nothing to engineer around, right? So these are the resources, and I've basically shown you already everything that we have here in the slide deck, right? The 4-week schedule, the books that you have access to, including the GitHub repositories, plus here the first week capstone in the core part, right? So now coming almost to the end, the portfolio-driven approach ties the methods to measurable outcomes. And this is really what I was thinking of as well, that you should not have read a few books after this program. You should be able to showcase a nice, quote unquote, impressive, hopefully, right, GitHub repository where you showcase what you have implemented yourself and that you have understood core topics, key skills of this so important AI engineering topic, right? So portfolio driven, production mindset, interview ready, right? If there is some interview on the horizon, right, you can talk about it. Do first. Here, read it. Do first, not read first or think first. Do first, Peter Goji, right? Exercises, projects, capstone, skill acquisition, detailed steps are reserved for you. I won't show you in this program every single detail and step by step. You have all the resources to master them, because in the past I was more on the side, I show every single piece, right? And people say, yeah, I saw Yves doing it. It's all nice. You should do the detailed work. You should acquire the skill. You should play the piano. You should swim in the swimming pool. You should drive the car, right? These are all skills that you need to master yourselves. System orientation, tools, retrieval, agents, evals, ops, all the important dimensions, right? Reliability, latency, cost, safety, guardrails. Think of what we have discussed before. And the resources delivered, you have it all, right? You have it, right? There's hopefully nothing that is left. I've been thinking about it. I won't give you a guarantee that it's 100% complete, the whole system and the learning program. If you find something where you say, well, if here we could have a bit more input on this and that would be helpful, just let me know. I'm always open to hear such feedback, right? But you have the books, the repos, your Colab-ready notebooks. I've shown you that. We have a live session, or we have live sessions, plural, like the one today. They are recorded and later on provided on the iEngineer platform as well. Resource launchpad, schedule practice plan. I've been showing you this, and yeah, you should hone your practices, processes, and practices. Recall these two expressions here so that you get well versed in AI engineering, right? So some of you, I don't need to convince anymore to join us. Others might need a bit more convincing. You find more details on our web pages. Currently, we still have the introductory offer, the launch offer, right? We also have the bundle offer with the CPF. Also pretty happy about that part, that many have taken me up on the bundle offer, which combines the CPF with a strong focus on finance, with the AI engineer, which is domain and industry agnostic. And I put here in the chat also a discount code. So have a careful look in the chat, where there is now a discount code that you can leverage and use, right? And there are a couple of questions I'm aware of, right? And now it's the time to answer your questions, because I'm finished with all my stuff that I wanted to present. And let me open the panel here. Somebody's asking whether you need a Windows system or a Linux system. Both will work fine, right? If you ask me personally, I work personally on multiple Apple machines. So Apple in and of itself, back in the days and still up until today, in a large part is based on Linux itself. So I'm more on the side of Apple. Even the smallest Apple machine will do quite well, right? Let's say entry-level MacBook Air will do all the tricks. I would recommend to have a screen. I'm sitting here in front of a 32-inch 4K screen, wonderful piece of hardware, right? But once again, small MacBook will do. Don't ask me about any specification for Windows. If you are in gaming and have already a NVIDIA GPU, even better. You probably can leverage it via CUDA for PyTorch, etc. But Linux, for example, without it would do as well. And the code, for example, has usually also a case-based installation or instruction, whether Windows or Linux in particular, when there is stuff on the command line to be done, or PowerShell, right? Another question, if somebody can be joining us as a mechanical engineer without any knowledge of AI engineering, yeah, you are basically our primary target group, right? That's the reason why we have this tagline from, and let me jump back here, oh, we don't have it even here, so I replaced it. Let me go to here, and that section we have it. Isn't it from zero? I don't know, my slides here. That's the slide that I was looking for, with the tagline that you find on the web page, right? From zero to production. This is exactly what I was looking for, given your question, right? From zero to production. Of course, it always helps if you have experience with Python, NumPy, pandas, maybe TensorFlow, maybe already PyTorch. Of course, nothing hurts in this regard. But if you don't have it, plan for a little bit of a longer learning period. You will find everything here to get to a production level, right? So yeah, this is not like the tracks, they are integrated. I hope this was clear. Maybe not, otherwise there wouldn't be the question. So it's a dual track pathway. So these are tracks that you will do at the same time, right? Where do we have the other overview? Here it is, right? So these are tracks that you are supposed to go through at the same time or in lockstep, right? This is part of the same program. No need to choose. Yeah, the math for the course. Somebody is asking how important is it? Yeah, you can if you like, if you prefer, apply a completely practical perspective. But a larger number of the examples and of the elements are simply driven by the math behind it. So AI engineering has a math component if you like it or not. You can have a completely practical approach to everything as a given. You can, of course, also say, for example, in the first step, I focus just on the implementation and engineering side. That's all possible. You have that flexibility for sure. Then you simply skip the more math-oriented elements. But overall, I would say AI engineering without a minimum level of math in the certain areas, linear algebra like tensor operations, or optimization like gradient descent, stochastic gradient descent, etc. You can be picky, yeah, but you need to have a minimum level in certain areas, right? So we have yeah, another question, access. So since we are in this ramping up phase with the program itself, launch today, right? And the whole platform, everything that I was showing you is brand new. We haven't really decided how to deliver it in the future. Of course, you will have access to it, and on the webpage you can read for a minimum of 6 months. This was just for me to say that over the course of the next 6 months, we will have decided and re-implemented the future delivery. So usually I would say, like for the CPF, you will have access pretty long. For the CPF, we say indefinite. Here, it might not be indefinite in the way that I am showing you this, but something similar like this will be established in the future. So yeah, somebody's asking what you should do in the first week. I have been showing you what you should do, right? You should go here to the launch pad and here to the practice plan in particular, right? Where you find all the single elements, right? And then you go to the coaching document. This is the first thing that you should do. Take the coaching document, and there you find exactly what you should be doing, right? Yeah, and the recording will be available shortly. This usually takes a little while, right? That's simply a matter of processing everything. But this holds true for all the things in the future as well. So how to ask questions during the program? I was expecting this. Yeah, we have a Discord server, and on the Discord server, you can here post at any time, can exchange ideas, can ask content questions, organizational questions. Somebody was asking here about the login information for today. I'm sharing it here. So we have a Discord server, different channels. There you can ask questions every day, every time long. So so somebody else with regard to the bundle, should you do the bundle in parallel, meaning AI engineer and CPF? I would say, given the timing, it would be good if you would start, if somebody starts now or has just signed up for the bundle, I would recommend going through the AI engineer first, because this will give you a tremendous advantage for the CPF and what is covered there. So this is really the bundle, and on the bundle webpage, you see the AI engineer starts today, November 2025. The next CPF cohort starts in January. So my recommendation, start with the AI engineer, go thoroughly through it towards the end of the year, and yeah, dive then into the financial side, right? Yeah, and when you sign up, currently, I told you we have basically changed everything, the whole delivery. We even changed the payment provider. So payment and yeah, provision of login credentials, etc., is not yet automated, right? So this might take, we write on the webpage, a maximum of 1 German business day until we send it. Usually it's within an hour or two that you get the details from us, right? Wonderful. Couple of yeah, there's another one asking whether Cursor has a coding agent. Yeah, you can have a look at it. Of course, it's Google. It's a Google product, and the coding agent there is Gemini. So you can use Gemini there as well. It's a little bit different to Cursor or GitHub Copilot, but you have Gemini there as well, explaining stuff, correcting stuff, etc., etc. PP, right? And when you decide for the bundle, again, everything that I was saying before, delivery of the AI engineer is not yet finished. Bear with me. So we have been implemented so many new things over the last couple of weeks, have been working day and night, me at least. The CPF, we stand to our value proposition that there is indefinite access. How exactly, yeah, exactly how we are going to deliver the AI engineer and for how long needs to be decided. But usually I wouldn't see any reason why we should restrict access in the future. This is not usually our policy. And to be honest, and I say it now here towards the end, in the past, I usually, or since years, we have indefinite access for the CPF on the web page. And many people took this as an opportunity, right, to say, yeah, I have like years on end to go through the materials. I want to have a little bit more of an urgency with regard to what we do at the AI engineer. So what we cover there, everything, yeah, the comprehensive list of topics, this is not really something that you would want to stretch over the course of 12 months, 18 months or whatnot, right? So I want to have a bit more of urgency. It was more in that sense, kind of a political argument as compared to saying we will restrict access in the future. Wonderful questions, right? I hope I have answered as of now all your questions. I see those who have signed up already. for our program here in the next live session, which is taking place already tomorrow, right? Others might join us after they have seen this. No big deal. Everything will be recorded. Everything is available. Once you have signed up, give us maybe an hour or two during a working day, or maybe until the next business day here in Germany, where I'm located, and then you will have access, quote unquote, immediately, whatever immediately means, but there won't be that much of a delay with regard to you accessing the materials, and then you can get started right away. Right? Final check for me with regard to the questions. Wonderful, no new ones have popped up. And in that sense, I wish you all the best. Hopefully you can reach all your goals when you master the skill of AI engineering. I hope to see you in the program if you haven't enrolled yet, and I'm looking forward to see everyone else in our upcoming live sessions. I wish you all the best with your learning path here through the AI engineer. Take care. Bye bye.